DJ from PTA. Wanted to go over a trade. I had a member inside the Discord reach out to me via personal message and wanted me to kind of go over a trade, Govx. This is the trade on May 24th. He wanted to understand that the psychology behind the trade, and he asked a lot of good questions, and I have some of those questions written down, so I kind of want to go over these things and kind of speak on it just so they can kind of understand. And I thought it would be a good video lesson to kind of express the trading style and what traders are looking at and what they're thinking throughout the trade and how a trader looks and views charts. I think a lot of guys out there go over stuff after the fact, but one of the cool features that Thinkorswim has is the ability to be able to go back in time, go over a trade, and really get an idea of how that stock was moving throughout the day. You can look at the level 2, you can do those type of things. For some, I always recommend to screen record. There's a lot of free screen recorders out there, so definitely do a screen record, and that will help you be able to go back and look at things that you might have not looked at in real time, so on and so forth. But the next best thing will be this option called on demand with Thinkorswim. So the first thing I usually do is go out and mark out my areas based off the weekly and daily charts. So looking at this, my goal right now is just to kind of get an idea of where the stock came from and give you an idea where stuff is. So first thing I try to do is look at the areas where it's bouncing from. So if you can look at this, you can see that about right there where it bounced, tapped, bounced, pulled up, came back, and then broke down from there. This will be an area, because this is where you get a switch and an exchange, including this one, and so on and so forth. But you know, I'll do this one here, and then I will probably do something let's see something here I could do here, but I'm gonna leave that one alone. So what I do at this point is I like whole numbers, so I'm gonna push this one up to 350. I'm gonna push this one up to 3, and then this one will be 230, and then this one, I don't know, probably 250. So these are the areas that I'm looking at, saying okay. And then right here, 266 could be an area, but I'm gonna let that be for right now. So now that I got my areas and everything drawn out, the next step at that point would be to pay attention to the price action that's happened in time. So looking at this, first thing in the morning, you had a big up. This is probably why it was on the radar. It's because of this major trend up. Now you notice right around this 260 area, this is what we talked about before on the daily. So you could see right around this area where it held some support and then it broke down. So you can say it's about 265, something like that. So when you go down into the chart, you can see it's right there in that area. So that's a key area, and this is how you kind of identify the key areas. Now let's break this down to a 30-minute. So we got a big push pre-market. Let's do this. This is pre-market high. This yellow line is previous day high. This green line is previous day close and previous day low. This is monthly previous month breakout. So I'm looking at this and saying, okay, it's up, has some news. This is one of those monkeypox stocks. So the news is not necessarily validity or anything like that, but obviously people are taking a look at it. It's already trading 14 million shares at this point before the market open. Float is 9.4. So you're looking at shares outstanding. It's already rotated as float. So first thing I usually do is go and I kind of break it down minute by minute, but because of sake of time and YouTube, I'm gonna do it by 5, 10s, 15, so you can kind of get an idea. So let's go another 15. Let's go another 5 minutes, I should say, and then we can see where we're at from there. So now that we got the 1 minute loaded up, as you can see in the first 5 minutes of the market, kind of went sideways and then a knee-jerk move up right into that resistance of $3 that we seen on the daily chart. So that's a given. So we know that $3 is a critical area. Breaking this down to the 5 minute, no real price action or pullback. So what I want you to draw your attention to is another 5 minutes. We're at 9:40 a.m. And I want to show you that chart so you can kind of get an understanding of how that works as well. So here at 9:41 a.m. Eastern Standard, we see that we had the stock to go up, get that resistance at $3, which we can expect because we saw that off of the daily, and then we got a big candle down. So pretty much this is like all a wash. Now let's break this down in a little bit less data at the 5 minute. Now you're starting to see it as it went up, came back down, starting to make lower highs. So this could be the beginning of what we call your pullback. So this is where I kind of look at it and see what it's going to do, you know. So to get a more tight-knit drawing, you would then draw it from the 1 minute. See how it's breaking down away from the stock. Let's go another 5 minutes so we can get a new 15. So now that we have the new 15 minute come in, again, this is about 9:46 a.m. We're starting to see that it's starting to really pull away from that $3 area. Now, when I switch over to a 15 minute, you're starting to look at it like this. Still no real pattern. So you have to go back to the 5 to kind of get an idea. And since we haven't had something to pull back into it right now, looking at that 1 minute is where it's at this point in time. So I'm going to fast forward to 10 o'clock so you can kind of see how things form. Okay, so now we have 10:01 a.m. Eastern Standard. We're starting to see the chart kind of form. Now here from 265 to 250 looks to be a demand zone. This is where it looks like they're gathering. So when you study about supply and demand, and there's a ton of videos on that, and I'll do a video as well. Drop it in the comments if you need me to. But the biggest thing is now you have to redo your drawing. Now we go back to the 5 minute. It's starting to look a little different. Now another thing you want to do is look at the 15 and see that right here it's not really, it's making higher lows, but it's not structurally showing lower highs and lower lows. It's still somewhat in a sideways price action off the 15. So I want to see another 5-minute candle. So we'll go in another 5 minutes and see how that looks. All right, so now we're at this new 1005, 1006 area, and you can see that it's still kind of going sideways. This is what we call rigging. When they're keeping the price sideways, bit of consolidation of some sort. When you take it down to a smaller time frame, you can kind of see it more visually. And again, this 265 and 250 area is probably a bit of demand area. And the reason I say that is simply because that's where it's going. It can't get below that 250 and hold, and it's starting to rip back up in each place, like someone's buying it up or propping it up, rigging it up or whatnot. Now let's break this down to the 15 because you still see some sideways price action. So let's circle this up to 1015 and see what we got. All right, so now that we at 1015, 1016 Eastern Standard, we noticed that the stock had popped up over and violated the line or violated the trend. Remember, it was in a downtrend. It came back up. So a lot of times you want to see the stock come back up to the trend line, see how it's going to react, and then make your decision. Now going back to the 15, this is how it looks. So just looking at this lets me know that I got to readjust this line, because what's happening is that it popped up and came back down. So like the next step I would do is look at another 5 minute to see exactly where it's at from there. And as you can see, it continued down. So this lets me know that this is the first area, this is the second area. Now you can try to get it perfectly or it hits all the candles and all that stuff, but what I've learned is that as long as you in the vicinity of it, because it's all an estimate, should be fine. So now I gotta look for the 15 minute to see if it's gonna get over that area. So here on the 15, as it load up, you can see that it's starting to kind of trend down. So what I like to do, try to touch those tops as best as I can. So you can kind of see that it's being rejected in that area. Now let's go another 10 minutes. It'll be 2 5-minute candles. We are now at 10:31 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So now we're at 10:31 a.m. Eastern Standard. You can see that the stock can touch this area twice, got over it a little bit, but starting to hold right here. So what you wanted to do is kind of go up, come back, and then bounce, or you wanted to just kind of go out and then you can risk, jump in and risk. But looking at the chart and going down to a 1 minute, the biggest thing is looking at the channel. So we got this channel come up, it popped out of it, hit the spike, come back into the demand zone, spike, and now starting to try to curl. So this could be an entry here around the 280s or something, risking the 265, or You know, some traders would have risked to, you know, here to right here, which is 30 cent. Just depends on what you're comfortable with, but you have to let the chart completely form. So my thing now, I'm trying to look at and see how does 15-minute look. So we may need another 15 minutes before we see some action. So if that's the case, we're going to go to 1046, which would be the next 15-minute candle. As you can see here on the new 15, we're at 10:46 a.m. We set in another set of lower highs. So these are the things you want to pay attention to. This lets me know the stock just isn't ready yet to take off. So people have gotten in between time and got chopped up or took a small win or something like that. There's definitely more downside currently than it is upside. And yes, right now it's just pretty much consolidating within these 15-minute candles. I say so because yes, it's still making lower highs and lower lows based on open and close price, but I look at the full body of the wick. With that being said, our next step will probably go another 5 minutes, which will put us around 10:51 a.m. So now that we at 10:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're still going in a downtrend. But now you're starting to see a bit of tightness here. If you pay attention, you can see that it's still doing that. So what does that all mean? Well, to a trader, the tightening means that sellers and buyers are starting to get to equilibrium. So this being the equilibrium is either going to pop up, bounce, go out, or it's going to go down, bounce, and go down. That's really what you're looking for. And to get a pinpointed area in there so that if it goes down or if it goes up, you can take advantage of it. So now I want to go another 5 minutes. That'll put us at 10:56 a.m. So at this 10:56 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you see that it's still pulling back into that 265, 250 area, and it's starting to get tight. So I'm gonna remove that line to see, because now it may go bounce, come back up, and then flush. Never know. So this is how you have to be patient and allow the trade to form. Let's take a look at the 15-minute. You see it's still making this downward move. Now that we're coming into the 11 o'clock hour, let's take a look at this a little bit different. At the 11 o'clock hour, we have a shift here. We got a green candle, still making higher lows. This thing may be ready to squeeze. So if we look at the 1 minute, here on the 1 minute, things are starting to look a little different. You're starting to see the wedge. You're starting to see that this can go higher. Possibly. Let's go another 5 minutes. So in the next 5 minutes, still tightening. So this is like a bit of a consolidation right there. So you can see what the traders are trying to do. So we had a consolidation here. breakout, pull back into the demand zone, breakout, and now we starting to go sideways above the demand zone. Now that we're moving over to 11:10, another 5 minutes. Again, this is 11:10 a.m. Eastern Standard. Now that we have this 11:10 pop up, we're starting to see a little bit of difference in the actual behavior of this stock after the sideways price action. It looks as though it's trying to perk. So I want to go another 5 minutes just to see what it's going to do. That loaded up pretty quick, snug right here on the stock. So you can still move it up just a little bit. So you see the tightening. You see that it's getting to this place. So what I'm thinking is going to jerk down, or it may pop up, depending on buyers and sellers, the buyers stepping in. So now that we got the 11:20 candles popping up here, you can see that it's starting to act out of behavior of the stock. So you could take a trade up here, risk in the back here if you wanted to. And that would be, neither here or there on that momentum and trade, just because it's starting to act a little different. Now let's go over to the 15-minute, and you can see that was a major candle in that pull. Now let's go minute by minute. So I'm gonna go 11:23. All right, so now that we're at 11:23 a.m. Eastern Standard, you're starting to see the stock behavior kind of change. Now, what some traders will do, ultimately, it has broken out of structure with some momentum right here. So you got your momentum and everything. What some traders will do, let it pull back and retest and then get in that way. Some just join the trend and then risk to the previous swing low. Like this was just completely violated. So if you got in here, risk to here, that's 16 cents. That wouldn't have been a bad trade, because this was where the energy shifted. Now let's just move past to 11:31. And as you can see, went up 40 cents. So whenever you're looking at a trade and you're looking at a potential play, that's what you're kind of looking for, is to see how that stock reacts. Now, as we said, we had short sitting here. Now let me draw this out for you so you can kind of see and understand. Your shorts were sitting right here, 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 and here. So as the stock started to climb, it did this motion here, which is where a lot of people got in at. You correlate that to this pre-market line that kind of show you where these people here got squeezed. Now let's go out to 11:45, 11:46, another 15 minutes. So as you can see, the stock left from this area here and it went to 338. So about a 50 cent move. So you had a 16 cent risk, 15-cent risk with a 50-cent move. So that was a 3-to-1. So this is what we mean about violating the stock. It violated the line and started going the other way. You know, some people might have got in somewhere here and risked to here. That would have been a good trade as well. 10 cent for, 40-cent move. So another 4-to-1. So it just depends on how you wanted to trade it, what you're comfortable with. Some people like to see a pullback first and then a jerk. Some want to see, how it's going to behave. I took the trade, did very well on it. I got in literally, got in right around the 270s here because I was risking it off of here. And then it just kind of ripped after that. So it was a decent trade. The key to it all is that's part of the pattern. And also, if you look at it from this point of view as well, you can see that it was getting close. It was getting squeezing. So that was the equilibrium point. So it went and then went the opposite direction. So the mechanics of knowing these different things before you get into the trade, knowing that the 265, 250 area is acting as demand now, knowing that $3 was the key area where everybody was looking at because it pulled off of there at 299. So this extended move from here to here was cool. But because this happened so fast, that's why you get this major sell-off, because the shorts really wanted this down. And then it never got up to 350, which was the other resistance area. We kind of know at that point this stock was fading or going the opposite direction. So I hope this helps out the individual that I was speaking with in the Discord to kind of break down the psychology of a trade. And I'm going to do another one, but I definitely wanted to kind of go over this trade to kind of give you an idea of how that trade can play out for you. All right, guys, as I tell everyone, stay studying and stay focused.